Nico Marchetti.
What's up? How you been?
How are you, friend? I'm doing well. I was just kind of giving people some backstory and how like Chicago feels like one big high school because everybody's just like 1 degree away from one another. And you and I went to school together, made some
Yep.
vastly different decisions after we graduated.
Yep. Yeah.
Like I went to the same high school as Michelle Obama. We made very different decisions.
Yeah.
Our respective graduations, but this seems as unlikely a story as coming from the south side of Chicago and being like the first lady of the United States. This is the wildest stuff. Nico, first of all, thank you for joining me. It's been a long time since we've spoken, but I've kept up with you and your career. You're everywhere. You specialize in like your jobs sound like the most fun jobs. You're currently filming for a demolition derby organization.
Yep. Yeah. 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 We travel across the Midwest, putting on live broadcasts of demolition derbies, and we stream them on our online platform, derbytees.tv and derbynation.tv.
And so that makes sense to me because I know that you're very sporty as a person, that you enjoy competition and stuff like that. How did you find yourself on this gig making what started off as a documentary about kind of an eccentric guy who had some tigers in Oklahoma?
I was just looking for a job after I did some freelance stuff, went on Indeed and just applied for the job. It sounded cool.
Yeah.
And the guy wrote me back. We video chatted, and he told me I had the job. So it was like within like 3 days of talking to him, I was in Wynnewood, Oklahoma.
Tell me a bit more about Wynnewood because we saw the inside of the GW2, but what's the rest of the town like?
It's a small town. I think it's about 2,000 people. So like coming from Chicago, going to Oklahoma, same population. The state has the same population as Chicago. So
Yeah.
It was definitely culture shock for sure. We didn't really go into the town a whole lot. We were on the outskirts of the town. We had two exits. I believe it was 64 and 66 that were the Wynnewood exits, and we were right off I-35.
Yeah. So you're not getting a whole lot of like culture or
No. I think there was one Italian like diner restaurant that was attached to a gas station.
Yeah.
That was like fine dining.
You know what? Never-ending breadsticks is fine dining.
Yeah.
So that explains a lot about like why something like the GW Zoo would be such a big attraction because your options are somewhat limited in a space like that. When you tell me about day one of this job, because a lot happened afterwards, but you're walking onto this zoo for the first time. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, so I was just talking to my friend about it, who I worked with. We were kind of talking about our first days, and I got there, and parking lot was empty. Just like a dirt parking lot. It was empty. Gate was locked. Kind of thinking like, oh, did I make the right decision coming here? And it was maybe like 5 minutes later, a car pulled up, and it was a guy I video chatted with who was my producer. His name was Mark. Rick would come later.
Okay.
But yeah, so Mark opened the gate. We started talking. We pulled in, parked, saw the trailers that we were going to be living in, the mobile homes. Brought all my stuff in there. He had told me that Joe wasn't going to be in that day, so I didn't even get to meet Joe. Turns out, after watching that documentary, Joe was in Tampa at Big Cat Rescue, flying that helicopter over the zoo. So, but yeah, the first day I met Saf.
So I think
one
the
who got
as a favorite. We're finding out a lot about Saf and how he identifies, and
Yep.
But like the thing where like, oh, my arm got ripped off, and now
Yeah,
like,
see,
a week later I'm going back to.
Mark had told me about Saf, or didn't mention Saf's name. He just said someone's arm got ripped off by a tiger. Like, you sure you still want to work here? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. But so when I met Saf, I didn't know that that was the person. I didn't know if that was from like a previous
Arm
injury,
off.
like or maybe it was like a birth defect or something. But then I found out that that was the person who got their arm basically ripped off. And I saw the video, the uncensored one, and it's brutal.
Oof.
Um, but yeah, first day was uneventful. Kind of just walked around. I mean, you're in the gift shop. They do the morning meeting. You go to the left, you go out the door, and then you're in the zoo. And I mean, it was amazing. It felt like it just wasn't real, like it was a dream. I kind of thought that I was going to hear the Jurassic Park theme song start playing, like, because there's these huge, 30-foot cages, these fences that go up 30 feet. And when you're walking down, they called it Tiger Alley. There was a whole bunch of cages, probably 10 or 12 cages. And all these tigers are in them. There's a railing, and there's like 2 feet from the railing to the fence, to the cage. So, I mean, you're right up there, and the tigers come up and they brush against the fence and they make this noise. It's called chuffing. And that's when they kind of recognize, like, they do that to other tigers when they recognize each other.
Okay. I'm
So
sure
yeah,
cats
then
at home do the same thing, just on a much, much smaller.
yeah. Yeah, and the one of the bigger things that they would tell me is if a tiger turns around and lifts its tail, get out of the way because he's going to try and spray you.
No, thank you.
Which that happened a few times to me. But yeah, that first day was, I mean, just kind of being in awe of the zoo. The only other thing that happened was the peacock that we had. We had two peacocks. We had a white one and then a regular one. The regular one flew up on top of a
Peacocks
cage and went into the alligator pit. And Saf had to go in there and get it out. And Joe actually had claimed that he had one of Michael Jackson's alligators. So.
And sure.
Yeah, but I just kind of went with it.
The thing about this show that I found, well, there's a lot of things about this show that I found particularly fascinating. But one of the things, just from someone who like produces content like this all the time, is the that you were there to film a television show, and that changed over the course of time into something like this juggernaut that we are here now. Was there ever a point while you were working where you felt like this is gonna be a thing, like this is fucked up?
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 months I was there for 10 months. It was maybe like the first 2.5 months, maybe. It was, like, kind of questioning why I was there. Like, it was like, this guy's never going to get a show. Like, he's too crazy. He's too over the top, and, no one's going to want him on TV. And that all changed when Rick showed up, and we kind of changed the direction of the actual YouTube live show that Joe did. Yeah. And we started doing things like bigger and better, and then we ended up making a sizzle reel, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, it was probably when Rick showed up, about 2.5 months to 3 months of me being there. He showed up, and that's kind of when things changed. Because before that, no one really hung out with each other. We didn't hang out with any of the animal crew people. It was just me and Mark. That was the only people there from the studio crew. So we didn't really talk a whole lot. And when he left, that's when my friend Suze, she showed up. Ramon showed up. This other guy, Mott, showed up. Sheldon, Michael, and Rick. And so we all started hanging out, and then we started hanging out with all the animal crew people. So when they all showed up, it kind of like rejuvenated life into what we were doing.
Yeah. And we saw a lot of that interaction with, the folks who were working on the zoo with one another. How would you describe the mood at the zoo when Joe was in good spirits versus the mood at the zoo when Joe was not in good spirits?
Oh, it was pretty rare when he was in good spirits, but
Hmm.
when he was, it was definitely more fun. Um, he would joke around a lot more. I remember one time, before, everyone else got there, um, he decided that he was going to take one of his blow dart guns, and he took one of the darts, took the tip off, and said he was going to go big game hunting and shoot it at some of the girls that worked there.
Jeez Louise.
So so that, I mean, that was fun. I remember that being one of the fun moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was usually in a bad mood with the animal crew a lot. They were always getting yelled at. Um, he treated us really well, and I think that's because he saw us. We were doing things to help him get notoriety.
Yeah.
Where the cat crew and animal crew, they were dispensable. He could replace them in an instant if he wanted to.
The whole situation between him and Carol Baskin and that rivalry that like WWE writers couldn't
Yeah.
write like a nemesis situation like that. And then like at the end of the series, we don't really have definitive answers as to like who did what or this
Yeah.
and that. Uh, was that the driving factor behind Joe's zoo, or do you sense that there was a true love for animals there that was driving his whole thing?
You know, Rick said at the end, um, that he believes Joe started the zoo off with good intentions, and I believe the same thing. I think he started it off as a way to help animals and help people who bought a tiger as a cub and realized that it was a lot of work and they get big and they couldn't take care of them. So I think he did start off with the best of intentions. But I've been telling people, what you see from Joe in the documentary and all the videos is what you get from Joe. He was like that when the cameras were rolling, when the cameras weren't rolling. There were very few times where you saw the real Joe. And it's like he created the character of Joe Exotic to get people to notice him, get people to follow him, and he kind of got lost in that role.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of led him down the path where he actually, he ended up, in jail, in prison.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I see a lot of people feeling bad for him, and at the same time, it's like I kind of feel bad for him, but you can't feel bad for him. He is where he is for a reason. He scammed a lot of people out of money. He abused people. I never seen him, abuse any of the animals unless you consider keeping them in cages, abusing them. But all the cats, all the animals got fed. But he claimed he had cancer, never had cancer.
Yeah.
Took money from people. I went to the hospital with him, and everyone was telling me like, dude, be prepared because you're going to see the insides of someone. And I was freaking out. We get to the hospital, and it's a plastic surgeon's office. And the guy goes, all right, Joe, you ready to get these benign tumors removed from your leg? I was like, dude, are you
Oh.
serious, man? So he does that, and then he gets Botox. And then we went furniture shopping. So I think there used to be a photo someone had up of Joe and I in one of the beds at the furniture store. I can't find it, but but he also he would lie to people who sponsored animals, tell them that their animal that they're sponsoring was at the zoo when it either died or he sold it.
Yeah.
So he was still taking money from them. So it's like, he got what he deserved. He is where he is because of his actions, and like he's entertaining. He's definitely entertaining, but I've been telling people don't feel bad for him because he got what he deserved.
Yeah. There was like no hero in this story. There's no
No,
protagonist.
no, no.
Story. It's really interesting. Everybody has like their moments in one episode or another where they're a sympathetic character, but like,
Oh, for sure.
yeah. And like they're apparently making a movie about this whole thing. Apparently, Kate McKinnon is supposed to play Carol Baskin. People are saying Danny McBride play Joe.
That's great.
Who would you cast here? Who would you cast as yourself?
Oh, I don't know. I know back in college, people told me I look like Johnny Depp, but I don't know. I don't know who would play me. Not a lot of speaking roles for that person, for sure.
Well, I loved catching you in the B-roll there. I was like I saw your profile. I was like, I think I know that guy. But that whole world seems so foreign and so like impossible. The fact that someone I actually recognized was a part of it seems so wild. You've been telling me some stories, but like, what was one of the wilder things that you saw? I mean, I imagine the stuff that we saw was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they didn't really go into the whole, they kind of talked about John leaving, but they didn't go in, there was like a huge fight. Like, I'm pretty sure like punches were thrown.
And for those just joining us, John, his first husband, Joe Exotic's first husband, he's the gentleman with the tattoos.
Yeah.
Notoriously, I think somebody called it a boner buffet. It's not a tram.
Yeah. John was actually his second husband.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you find
he had a first husband before who died of AIDS.
Yeah. And so
I think his name was Brian.
That we met in the show.
Yeah. They got into it, and I remember John came back one day, and everyone was on edge because it was the whole high school kind of thing, Team Joe, Team John, and John came back and he was mad and started yelling at Joe, telling him that he did this to him, he made him this way, and so Rick and I was just thinking about this. I couldn't remember who was driving and who had the camera. I can't remember if I was driving or if Rick was driving, but we followed John out of the zoo, and we probably followed him for like 10 miles, and then we lost him. But yeah, that was kind of crazy. There were several times where like a tiger got out, and it was like there was one that was like 20 feet in front of me. And luckily, it ended up going into another cage, and one of the cat crew people locked it in there. Trying to think of some other ones.
The fact that there were probably so many that they're blended together in your mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just trying to think of some. There was a lot. Every day was something new. Someone mailed Joe a voodoo doll once, and so he took it, nailed it to a post, and shot it.
Oh, that's in character. We know.
Yeah. I went to the gun shop with him in Paul's Valley, which was like the next town over, and he bought an AR. He bought the Tannerite, bought bullets, and then we went over to the burn pile all the way in the back, and he threw gasoline down, he set all those canisters up, had a dummy with a PETA shirt on, and they just started shooting, and that was crazy.
Did you yourself ever feel as though you were in danger?
No.
Good, because if somebody comes...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I always felt safe. I mean, I was in a cage with Joe with two tigers. They were juveniles. They were about like 1.5 years old. One of them was cross-eyed. So he had to look down in order to see, so he couldn't really. He ran into Joe one time and dislocated Joe's knee.
Oh.
Yeah.
The fact that like you and I are from the same place.
Yeah.
You have seen this. I hate to use the word insanity, but there's fewer words that are making sense here. That you got to see it firsthand is so wild to me. I am so glad that you got back to Illinois in one piece. We don't mess around like that in the Midwest.
There's a zoo that Joe sold animals too in Illinois. I forget
Really?
where, but I think it's like Brown Zoo or something
Yeah.
somewhere in Illinois. Yeah.
Jeez. Jeez Louise. Nico Marchetti, you